This is Eric Beyer of Old Vine, Texas, a new winery tasting room featuring 100% Texas wines from wineries all over the state. We are located in Mansfield, Texas, inside of Ancora Event Center on Broad Street. We have weekly tastings, charcuterie board to enjoy, live music, and a new wine club. Go visit our website at oldvinetexas.com to sign up for our newsletter and learn more. Or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Vine, Texas. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back, everybody, to We Know Texas Vino. We are having a great episode today. We are in the office of Mr. Sid Miller, the Texas Agriculture Commissioner. How's it going, sir?
Good to be with you. Everything's going just dandy.
Just dandy. Well, it's a little hot outside. Can we turn the AC back on outside?
Well, it's about 70 degrees here in the building, so I'm pretty comfortable.
Well, earlier today, I walked from the parking garage and walked over to the state capitol and then came over here. And by the time I got here, the security guard downstairs handed me some napkins and said, "Here, you probably need to wipe yourself off," because I was just drenched in sweat.
Yeah, we're starting to enter those days.
Oh yeah, and
it'll be that way till September.
Yes, and hopefully it won't be any longer than September. So, yeah. But real quick before we get digging deep into this episode here, you can find our podcast at weknowtexasvino.wine. Also, you can find us on any podcasting platform like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Pandora. And then, of course, we are now doing videos on YouTube. So check us all out there. Find us some great information about this podcast and about Texas wine and Texas agriculture here.
We Know Texas Vino, right?
Yes, sir.
That's
We Know
it?
Texas Vino, yes, sir.
Okay.
And you know how we came up with the name?
How's that?
Drinking Texas vodka.
Well, okay.
I mean, you're going to come up with an idea. Might as well keep it all Texas, right?
Sure, there you go.
By the way, I'm going to do a plug for that one out there. That's Acre Distillery in Fort Worth.
Okay.
All right. So, Sid, first off, I want to thank you for allowing me to have a moment of your time to come up here and talk to you about Texas viticulture and enology.
Sure.
In fact, actually, when I told my dad I was coming up here, he goes, "Oh, I used to deliver hay to him when he was in Stephenville."
Yeah.
So, but it's an honor to be up here. And I talked to a lot of people, a lot of the winemakers and the vineyard owners about me coming up here. And they all said, "Hey, we have some ideas for topics." And so most of the topics I've given you pre-head came from these people. But first, I want to know who Sid Miller is. How did you get into the whole decided, hey, I want to do this whole agriculture stuff? What brought you into this world?
Well, I'm an 8th generation farmer and rancher, so we've been at this since 1700.
Oh, okay.
I told my banker the other day if we have a couple more good years, we might get the place paid for. So, so we've been at it a while. Four generations in Texas. Mm-hmm. So my whole background is agriculture, farming, and ranching.
Okay.
So I went to Tarleton State University, part of the Texas A&M system, the better part of the A&M system. Graduated there with a degree in vocational agriculture. Okay. So when I got out of college, I was an ag teacher.
Okay.
So I actually taught agriculture for 5 years.
Awesome.
And I soon learned, being an FFA advisor and 4-H leader, that our greatest natural resource we have in this state is not oil and gas. It's our youth.
Right.
And we put a big emphasis on that. When our country was founded, or even when Texas was a republic, 95% of the people were farmers and ranchers, because if you didn't grow it or kill it, you didn't eat. There were no Costco's or Walmart's or Kroger's or H-E-B's. So, but today that number is now less than 2%.
Wow. So
about 1.5% of us feed the rest of the country or rest of the world.
Okay.
So it's imperative that we entice young people to come into this profession. Now, on the other hand, 1 in 5 jobs in this state are somehow indirectly related to agriculture. Okay. They may not be farmers, but they're truck drivers, they're delivery operators, they're processors, they're accumulators, they're working the grocery store, whatever. Right. So agriculture's still a big part of our life here in Texas.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, growing up out in West Texas, I grew up in Breckenridge, Texas, so not too far from Stephenville. Sure. Football season was always struggles. We'll talk about that one, okay? But, I mean, growing up, you always saw in Breckenridge oil or cattle. Right. That's all it was. You didn't see a lot of the vineyards out there. Like now, if you go up around north, you see a lot of the vineyards now, which is just amazing to see now. But Texas has a lot of different stuff we can do here in Texas. And sometimes I repeat myself, so I do apologize.
No, it's fine. You're good.
Again, like I said, folks, I'm nervous here. I mean,
you're doing fine.
But I mean, it's interesting that you started as a teacher and teaching.
I did, because I only taught 5 years and then went into business for myself as basically a farmer and rancher. So I did that. I was serving on the local school board.
Okay.
And I got recruited to run for the state house as a legislator. Okay. So we did that and was successful, and I was a lawmaker for 12 years. Okay. And then from that led into running for Texas Agriculture Commissioner.
Okay.
So
awesome.
I was recruited to run for the state house. I was recruited to run for this office. Didn't want to do either one of them, but here I am.
But you don't regret it, do you?
No, I don't. I think the Lord's got me right where He wants me to serve.
That's
so
awesome.
I love my job. People say, well, when are you going to retire? I say, well, I guess I retired 10 years ago because I'm doing exactly what I love to do. I mean, this is what can't think of doing anything else. Right. So I strive to be the best agriculture commissioner Texas has ever had. And I hope when I'm gone, whoever follows me is better than me, because that's what Texas deserves.
Right. Understandable.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed when I came into your office, you used to rope.
Actually, I still rope.
You still rope?
Yeah, I last competed May the 2nd.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the next day I got kicked in the shin, so it kind of sidelined me for a while.
Yeah, that took you out of the commission for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, again, we need somebody that's in this position for agriculture, that's actually in that field, who's been in the trenches, that understands what it's like to dig those post holes.
Oh, yeah.
To get kicked in the shin, to whatever. We need somebody that's in that position, that's been there before, because someone who's not been in the trenches, putting them in this position, don't understand. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they won't understand, but it's harder for them to understand. So
yeah. I still make my living off the land there in Stephenville. I raise cattle and horses and grow various crops. So I'm still very close to the agriculture production.
Okay, awesome. So let's switch a little gears now. Let's talk a little bit of the viticulture stuff.
Okay.
So right now, how many acres does Texas have under vine right now? Do you know?
I couldn't probably give you the exact number, but let's say somewhere around between 15,000 plus, probably 15,000 acres, that's a lot of grapes.
That's a lot of
grapes. Now, when I started, I've been at this 10 years. Uh-huh. When we started, we had about 250 wineries. Okay. And it was about a $3 billion industry. Okay. Today, we're up over 800 wineries. Yep. And it's a $20 billion plus. Correct. Now, that includes wine tourism. Right. And we have a very unique structure here in Texas that most other states do not. Mm-hmm. It's the way we market our wine. Right. Most wine is marketed, you make the wine, sell it to the distributor, and then the distributor sells it to the package house, and so on and so forth. Correct. We didn't follow that model here in Texas. Right. We pretty much sell all the wine right through the winery retail. Right. It all goes to mostly through wine clubs to get a certain vineyards or a winery's wine. You have to join their wine of the month club or something. They'll send you 6 bottles, 12 bottles, whatever you sign up for. So most of it's marketed that way. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty hard to find Texas wine at the grocery store. There are some, but for the most part, you have to buy it from the winery. Yeah. So we have a big wine tourism industry. Mm-hmm. Hill country, the high plains. We have 9 wine regions across the state. You can go to our website, texasagriculture.gov, and see all the different wine regions. We have videos, the whole wine tour thing you can take. So it's really good. Now, what the wineries don't sell through their wine clubs, they just drink themselves. So there's never any extra.
I don't know what you're talking about there.
Well, it's true.
That's honest, I mean, because one of my favorite wineries, I'm going to name drop them, Lonesome Vine. Yeah. I'll go out there on a Saturday or a Sunday, and we'll sit out there, and I'll get there. I'll say, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. And next thing you know, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. Yeah. And we've already poured through like 4 or 5 bottles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it can happen.
So, yeah, it's a lot of times what they don't sell, they drink themselves.
That's it. That's it. So it's hard to come by unless and a lot of our wineries are so popular now that they're really not taking any new customers. It's a production problem.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but we do you can find Becker Vineyards, Messina Hoff, Llano Estacado. Some of those are the bigger ones that you can actually find on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
And purchase. And there's others too. I'm leaving a few out. That's
There's
just ones that come to mind. Yeah.
And I think most everybody can find, I believe HEB is a big Texas sponsor.
Yes.
And so, it's great that they are pushing and supporting Texas. And so they do have a good selection of Texas wines in there.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I like to browse down the wine aisle. I find it romantic, kind of, to roam down the Texas aisle at HB. Never heard it put that way before.
That kind of reminds me of a story that I spent 200 nights in hotels last year. So when I have my time at home, I cherish it. Mm-hmm. So one of those very evenings, Deborah and I were home and we're sitting out on the back porch watching the sun go down, and I poured us a couple of glasses of wine and had a little plate of cheese there, and we're just sitting there not saying a word. And second glass of wine, and watching and it's just serene. It's just I never get to slow down like that. Right. So, and she doesn't either. So we're sitting there, and Deborah says, honey, she says, I just don't think I could make it through the day without you. And I thought, oh man, how sweet is that? Man, all right. And then I got thinking about it. I said,
are you sure
honey, is that you talking or the wine talking? And she just thought a minute. She says, well, that's me talking to the wine.
Oh man, that is funny.
Yeah.
Bought an amazing bottle of Malbec from Elisa Christopher down in the Hill Country, and it's great cigar wine. So I brought it to my house. My stepdad came over one day, and we sat down on the back porch, and I said, stepdad, I got this great bottle. Actually, I called him Robert. I said, Robert, I've got this great bottle of wine that I bought just for you and I to share, to smoke a cigar. He goes, awesome. So we get back into the patio. We got some great classic rock playing. We're sitting on the back patio. We pour a glass of wine, we fire up cigars, and we're just having a good time. I reached over and grabbed that bottle and went to pour me another glass, and it was empty. I looked at him and I said, what happened to the bottle? He goes, I don't know. It has a hole in it.
There you go.
But I mean, and I've even introduced them to Texas wine, and they have just overwhelmingly accepted how amazing Texas wines is, and they were never a big wine drinker. They've always been, beer and stuff, but they were really impressed with Texas wines, and they have really come on board with me as well and follow suit with this.
It wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always that way.
When we started out, we tried to mimic the varietals from France or Bordeaux or whatever. It just didn't go well. I mean, you had to hold your nose to drink some of that stuff. It was terrible. But we have evolved.
Oh, yes.
And we've come into our own. And now we know what varieties are suited for the hill country, for the high plains, for East Texas.
Yes, sir.
And we're winning wine contests, worldwide, prestigious wine contests. Most of the winners at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, which they had over 6,000 entries, were Texas wines.
Yes.
So I mean, we're competing right up there with the California wines and European wines.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's it never ceased to amaze me with Texas wines. Just when we think we're real there, like we got the best stuff, someone comes out and we do something even better. In fact, actually, one of the things I've read an article, and I don't remember where I read it at, Texas wine industry right now, we're still in a lot of our discovery phases and stuff. Right now where we're at, we're what California was in the 80s when they were doing their discovery. And I see in the next probably 10, 15 years that we should be surpassing what California is doing. Well,
we're closing in on them. We're over 20 billion at their peak, which they're not at their peak anymore. They've lost a lot of wineries. We're at 80 billion. So they're regressing and we're moving up.
Oh yeah. In fact, actually, an article I read the other day, California is pulling vines up. Yeah. Well, we're putting vines in the ground.
That's true.
But it's I don't want to say it's sad, but it's sad to see vines getting pulled up. Especially when they're 100-year-old vines.
Sure.
You made a comment a while ago. We have 800 wineries. Now, that G permitted wineries. 800?
That's just approximate. Don't quote me exact on that, but that's just a number the industry throws out there.
Okay.
Around 800. That could be 750 to 850. I don't know the exact number.
It's a good round number. Yeah. Good round number. There was an article that just came out from Wine America. It said that the Texas wine industry growth has doubled in the last last 3 years. Where do you see Texas wine industry growth compared to other states? And let's leave California out of this because California doesn't count anymore.
Well, here's what I noticed, and I may not, have it, I'm not the know-all about the wine industry,
right.
But from what I see as the ag commissioner, I see a lot of gentleman farmers.
Mm-hmm.
They are farmer professionals. They may be a architect, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer,
mm-hmm.
Some kind of professional. Maybe they grew up on a farm at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're living in Houston or Dallas or some, and they're ready to get back to the country.
Right.
And they said, let's buy a little place in the hill country and,
mm-hmm.
and let's buy some Angus cows, or let's put in a winery. Let's grow grapes. I'd like to do that. So we have this phenomenon in Texas where the average farm is not getting larger.
Mm-hmm.
The average size at the farm is getting smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because we have a lot of these, what I call gentleman farmers, and ladies too. I'm kind of lumping them all together.
Right.
But I think, know where I'm going.
Right.
Get back and they, get back to their roots and, get some dirt under their fingernails and just live a good life
yes.
again and get out of the rat race.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. In fact, obviously both of you and I are country boys. We grew up in West Texas, getting out there, playing in the dirt, getting under your fingernails. But and then you come into the city life, it's two totally different worlds,
Sure.
In fact, actually, I'm trying to remember what vineyard. There's a vineyard right smack dab in the middle of Dallas. And he still grows grapes there and he still makes wine out of it.
And grapevine,
yeah.
actually.
No, it's actually in Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who it was. It literally just left me. But Delaney also grows in the middle of grapevine as well. Which actually they've cut their vineyards down quite a bit, but it is what it is, progress in life, So you talked about a while ago, you were drinking some wine with your wife.
Yeah.
So when you're having a big Texas steak, okay, what is your go-to red?
Probably.
I know that's a big question to ask.
It's probably always a Merlot.
Okay.
Yeah. With a good steak, a Merlot and a good steak.
Awesome.
It's
Any particular vineyard wineries you like to go to also?
As ag commissioner, I better watch out here. I'll be careful.
I know it's not a loaded trap, I promise you.
But I have some that that I don't know of any that I don't like.
Uh-huh.
Wedding Oak out of San Saba, William and Chris out of Ty.
Yes.
There's hundreds of good wineries across the state.
Oh yeah. That's there's a lot of good wineries. And see, I actually, when people ask me what is my favorite winery, you know what my rebuttal is? Which one's your favorite kid?
Yeah. There you go. Pretty much.
Now you don't have to answer that question because now you have to answer that question. But it's it's great. So there's several different things we got going on here. We got Go Texas and we also have Uncorked. So can you explain what the difference between what Go Texas does and what it focuses on, and then what Uncorked does and what it focuses on?
So Go Texan is our blanket marketing program from the Texas Department of Agriculture, which would include wine products. Okay. But it also includes anything Texas.
Okay.
So we market the Go Texan program globally.
Mm-hmm.
We have trips planned to the Middle East in September. We just completed a sale of 50 tons of Texas beef a month to the Lebanese army.
Wow.
So I mean we do things like we do it in a big way.
Okay.
We don't export a lot of wine. We are working on some wine exports,
mm-hmm.
but we just don't have a lot of wine to export. Like I said, we either sell it to the neighbors or drink it ourselves. So there's not a lot left to export.
Right.
But we're getting there. We're getting to the point where we do have some extra wine that we need to market in a different way. So the Uncorked is specifically marketing Texas wine products, and we use. You could actually be both. You could be in the Go Texan program and participate in the Uncorked, Texas wine program.
Okay.
The Uncorked wine, we draw down specialty crop money, and we use that for research. We do that for advertising,
mm-hmm.
for promotions. We will help sponsor some festivals. We might pair Texas wine and Texas shrimp. Mm-hmm. And kind of get a force multiplier there where we can get more bang for our buck.
Right.
And so that's kind of the difference in the two programs. Okay. They're similar, but they're separate.
Yeah, I know the last conference I went to at TWIGA, Texas Wine and Grape Growers Association, the Uncork booth was sitting there, and they had recipes sitting right there with what wines to pair it with. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this.
Sure, yeah.
I love to cook, and I found that drinking wine has changed my palate, and I like to cook more now. I don't do a lot of fast food anymore now. I do a lot of cooking at home.
Good for you. Yeah.
Plus fast food is not as healthy.
Right. We're all kind of waking up to that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new renaissance, the Maha movement.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that also I've been hearing a little buzz in the wine community or the viticulture community is the whole regenerative. And actually, I just had it pulled up here. Regenerative and hang on, let me pull it back up here. Regenerative and sustainability. And that's a big thing here in Texas because we're running out of water. And so we've got to be able to figure out how to conserve what we have and still be able to produce the good quality grapes all at the exact same time. So what, in your world here, what are you doing to help with this?
So hang with me now, because you may think, what in the hell is he going with that? So people ask me, you see the 7-foot Comanche headdress I've got displayed? I don't know where you can see it on the camera or not. But people ask me, what are you doing with that in here? I've never seen anybody display a headdress. I said, well, there is a purpose behind that. And they said, well, what is it? I said, well, the original ag department was the Comanches.
Okay.
They ruled Texas, and they oversaw Texas. Mm-hmm. And they understood sustainability and regenerative long before it was a buzzword.
Okay.
So we can learn a lot from the Comanches. We can learn a lot from our ancestors, settlers that carved out a living from nothing in Texas, and they made a sustainable living. So that's pretty much where we are. Mm-hmm. We have agriculture in general. I'm going to talk a little more in general, not specifically grapes, but we have a great story to tell, but we don't tell our sustainable story.
Right.
So we farmers for the most part don't socialize. They kind of don't, they stay out on the farm 12, 14 hours a day and don't really want to talk to the media. And so our story never gets told.
Right.
But we get blamed for a lot of stuff.
Right.
So when we get beat up for having GMO crops, and there's only 3. People get that people don't even know that. But through that process, we've been able to move to no-till and minimal-till farming.
Okay.
Now, conventional farming takes about 5 gallons of diesel fuel per acre to complete a crop.
Right.
Now that we have this technology where we can do no-till or minimum till, we're using 1 gallon of diesel fuel per acre.
Wow.
So, but we don't, like I said, we don't tell our story. What other industry can say we've reduced fossil fuels by 80%?
Not too many.
And it doesn't stop there. The story we also don't tell is that since we're no longer turning the soil over, we're not releasing hydrocarbons into the atmosphere. And we're also not killing the microbes in the soil. The microbes flourish.
Okay.
And through technology and other means, minimal till farming, we're using about 60% less pesticides and about 40% less commercial fertilizer. I mean, we got a great story to tell, but no one knows it.
Yeah.
I mean, and they say, well, what are you doing about sustainability? Well, duh. I mean, we were doing that before it was a buzzword. Right. I mean, but the bottom line is, in agriculture, we have to produce more with less. Mm-hmm. And being sustainable means you got to make a profit to stay in business.
Right.
And so we do that by producing more with less.
Right.
Less fossil fuel, less pesticides, less fertilizer, better crop genetics, higher yields, and better use of our water.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that actually brings up a really great topic. I don't know if you could touch on this much, because I know the last time I asked this question, it was a loaded gun for me, and I had to edit that part out.
Okay.
So herbicide drift.
Okay.
Because that is a big big deal right now up in the high plains. Because the railroad tracks up there, they go out there and they spray all their stuff on the tracks to kill the weeds and all that, which is great, but it gets in the wind and it drifts over, or even some of the crop owners out there, they're spraying stuff on the trees and it kills off the grapevines, and even changing the DNA in the vines. I know there's a big deal going on with that right now, big controversy about it up in the high plains.
Well, I think we're beyond that now. What we had a very volatile chemical, very, very useful chemical in the cotton industry called dicamba.
Yes.
And there was, dicamba cotton. It was, you could actually spray it over. Mm-hmm. The problem was a process called inversion.
Okay.
We didn't really know a lot about that when we started spraying dicamba, but through inversion, that stuff could drift for sometimes miles.
Yeah.
We didn't know it.
Yep.
And so a lot of the grapevines up there, the vineyards, would have some herbicide damage, but no cotton around them or no one had sprayed. We like to never figured it out. But we run, I have my own pesticide lab. We oversee all the pesticides for the state. So my inspectors would go out, pull samples, and come back and say, "Oh yeah, you got pesticide drift. Who around here's, well, no, this is organic cotton around us." But so we had some drift. Now those days are probably over.
Okay.
Because dicamba has been banned. We no longer use dicamba.
Okay.
So that was the main culprit. We didn't have a lot of it, but we did have some of it. I guess we didn't have a lot of it because we don't have that many acres of grapevines.
Right.
15,000 acres total. I mean, so you couldn't have a lot of, even if, but we have had some. And there's been some lawsuits over it. And of course, we didn't get involved as the testing agency and things like that. But and we're the investigators to, also go out and we try to pinpoint where the source of the problem is. One thing I will say that most of the time that we have a pesticide complaint and we trace it back, it comes back that the guilty party is the farmer that complained.
Okay, that's fair.
Most of the time. Oh yeah, maybe we didn't clean that tank out. Maybe if we forgot to flush the tank out.
Was that what they call the guilty party marks first?
Yeah. So that's not uncommon. Not always, but more often than not, it was something that the farmer miscued himself.
Right. I remember hearing a story from a vineyard in the hill country. The property right next to him was sold, and the guy was going out there and start cropping and stuff. And the winemaker and the vineyard owner walked over and said, "Hey, if you get ready to spray, anything you're going to spray, let me know first what you're going to do so we can make sure everything's okay." And he says, "That way you don't get it on my vines and kill my vines." Well, he never told the vineyard owner that he was going to spray, and he ended up spraying and getting on his vines and killing some of his vines.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so angry.
He should be. He should be.
I seen somebody turn 3 shades of red there really fast.
No, we've implemented and participate in a program called Field Watch.
Okay.
And that is a program that is good for pollinators. It will locate, on the map, anybody that's spraying. You put it in, you can check and see who's, next to you and all that, and it's become and it's free.
Okay.
So it's become a very good tool for us.
And where can they find that at?
Just go on the internet and Google Field Watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will get that added to the website notes so that people can find it if they're looking for it. That's good information because I didn't even know that was out there.
Yeah, it's relatively new, but people are starting to use it, and it's a very valuable tool.
Interesting. Okay. And we talked about the vineyards. I know that some people out there I've talked to have wanted to start a vineyard, but we all know in order to make a vineyard, you need to make $1 million. You need $2 million in this wine industry,
right?
and I know a lot of people who want to start a vineyard, but it's financing, getting it done is what it takes. If someone wants to do a vineyard, is there like grants and money like that they can go out there and get to help them start a vineyard up? I'm not saying run the whole thing and sustain it all, but is there money they can go out there and get to start their own vineyard up and get things going for them?
There's yes and no. There's not a lot of programs from the state legislature's really never done anything like that.
Okay.
except we do have one program called the Young Farmer Grant Program.
Okay.
And we'll match dollar for dollar for a young couple or individual that wants to start a vineyard up to $20,000. Okay. So if they'll put in 20, we'll put in 20, and we'll get you started. And we think it's a hand up, not a handout.
Right.
Because those people, they're mostly successful, and they come back and give back to the industry. So that's the one program we have. Okay. There's a bill in the legislature to expand that program quite a bit. Okay. I don't know if it's going to pass or not. I'll know in a week probably. Wait, after this airs, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, in fact, actually, even my folks right now, because me getting into the wine industry and stuff, they have 5 acres in East Texas. They're not doing anything with it. And I said, hey, you're wasting money right here. Let's do something with it. Yeah. And so I presented them to doing a vineyard, and they're wanting to start doing it. And he's a vet, and they're over 65, and they're like, hey, is there something we could do about this?
Ooh. 5 acres is a lot for 2 people.
Oh, yeah. Well, he would rather do that than in an 8 to 5 job, or 9 to 5 job, so. But okay, that's good to know because, there's still a lot of people out there that I know. In fact, actually, one of my friends, he just decided one day, he bought some vines and started planting them.
There you go.
No education, doesn't even know what to do. And then he asked me, hey, can you come out here and look at them? I don't even know what I'm doing.
Right.
So.
Well, and you can get help. There's the Extension Service, the AgriLife, actually they call it now. I'm dating myself. I hadn't been called Extension Service forever, but Texas AgriLife, the county agents have mounds of information for somebody that wants to start a vineyard.
Okay, awesome. So I want to talk about a little quick touchy topic right now.
Okay.
And it's running pretty crazy right now in the Texas wine industry. And I consulted somebody about this, and they said, mate, watch your words how you're saying this. So I'm going to do everything I can to watch my words on this.
Okay.
So recently, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo had started doing a fundraiser for the Texas agriculture youth. And a lot of the winemakers noticed they bought California wines for this or got California wines donated for this. And it has really upsetted a lot of Texas winemakers. I know you probably can't give your full-on feeling on this, but what is your thoughts on this? I don't know how. I'm trying to keep you neutral to this whole thing here. But
no, I don't have to be neutral on. I'm the ag commissioner. I promote Texas wines. So somebody just screwed up and didn't put a lot of thought into that. Would be my guess. I don't know why you wouldn't want Texas wines at a Texas event.
Well, and it's also
we work very closely with the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. We have Go Texan booths there. We're expanding our presence there this next year. We have a huge pavilion at the State Fair in October in Dallas. Over 40,000 square foot pavilion there, the Go Texan Pavilion. We brought back wine tasting.
Yes, I mean, did I say that out loud?
6 to 7 every evening.
Okay,
there, and we have a wine garden there,
yep.
and Texas Beer Garden. We do the same thing in Houston.
Okay,
so these stock shows like San Antonio are the perfect place to expose the unexposed public to Texas wines.
Right.
So it disappoints me to hear that they were using California wines.
Right. Well,
so,
I think the biggest thing
I bet that's been corrected, would be my guess.
So I mean, their website hasn't changed. I looked at their website just a little bit ago, and they're still got California wines on there.
Yeah.
I think the most thing that frustrates a lot of the Texas winemakers when they saw this is the fact of it is supporting Texas agriculture youth.
Right.
And using California stuff to do that. And I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Well, sure. Yeah, that's not right. We need to get that fixed.
Yeah. In fact, we'll leave it at that. But I wanted to bring that up.
I wasn't aware of that, so thanks for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah. We'll stop right there now. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Okay.
I'm really passionate. You and I talked a little bit before the show here. I'm really passionate about the Texas wine and Texas viticulture economy. I'm trying to push and get more about the awareness of Texas wine out there and Texas grapes. In fact, I'm working in a tasting room myself. And a lot of people don't realize that Texas has a great wine industry right now. And they're unaware of it. And then I actually show them the app, the Texas Wine Lover. And I show them that, and they're like, oh, wow. And they see all the wineries in Texas. And it shocks people. What really makes me happy is when people come in from California and they're like, oh, the last time I tried Texas wine, it wasn't all that great. And they drink it now. They're like, wow, this is amazing. And so that's a big deal. So my next question would be actually is how can we get more wineries to participate in stuff like the fundraiser there, or getting them in more deeper involved to push more Texas agriculture? I know there's a lot of the wineries that are big into the political stuff right now. I know there's a big hoodoo right now, and we won't talk about that going on right now in the state capitol. But how can we get the small wineries who can't get that representative in here to talk about it? What can we do to get them to participate more?
Basically just ask them. They're good people. They want to give back to the community. Most of them have spent a lifetime serving, and most of the problem is just they haven't been asked to participate. Okay. But you'll find that probably 9 out of 10, if they ask to do something for the youth or for the community, or contribute to the betterment of their locale, their community, they'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay. I know there's a lot of wineries out there that love to push and promote Texas. In fact, we're like Texas, 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 and that's a good thing. We want that. Let's see. I've got one more question here. Can't see it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You sit here and you get all these, you have everything running, and then all of a sudden you just go blank. I know you probably have that happen to you every once in a while. You're a busy man. First, Commissioner, I really appreciate your time. Let me to come up here and talk to you about this. And again, I'm pro Texas, pro pushing Texas viticulture and enology. Is there anything you want to talk about that you are passionate about this industry?
Well, let me just promote our Go Texan program.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
If it looks to me, it looks like an old Riesling bottle.
It is. Okay. It is. There's one of our Go Texan partners recycles wine bottles.
Oh.
And it's called secondtimearound.com.
Second time around. Okay.
So you can get any wine bottle you want, and they will. They have a special heated process that smooths that rim. Anybody can cut glass, but to make it where you can put your lips on it and not cut yourself is different. So Second Time Around Glass Company, cool. And instead of those going into the landfill, and they will put your winery's logo on it. This is our Go Texan logo, and so. A lot of things, you think about Texas wine, but you don't realize all the ancillary businesses that come out of it. Right. So I thought I'd just share that one with you. That's awesome. A cool company. I just love it. I love it that they're keeping that out of the landfill and making something. That's beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, that is. And what was the name of the company again?
Second Time Around.
Second Time Around. Okay.
Yeah. And A2round.com. Okay. A2round.com.
Awesome.
Is the where you look them up.
Okay. That might be something.
A2round.com.
That's a great idea right there. That keeps the glass from being in the landfill. It doesn't fill it up, and you can turn around and sell that. Because I know there's a lot of people, instead of buying like regular wine glasses, buy bottle wine glasses.
Oh yeah, that would be great. To serve in a winery. I give them away as gifts. With my brand on it, my ranch brand on it. It's nice.
Huh.
So
thanks for you. Now you got my gears going. So I like to do things on the side also, just for fun of it. And every time someone says, "Oh, you could do this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," and I start thinking about it. How can I do that myself?
Yeah.
Because we as Texans, we are proud about what we're doing, and we want to do it ourselves. So. Again, Commissioner, I really appreciate it. Outside of that, is there anything else you want to talk about that I maybe didn't hit on?
Oh, I don't know. There's so much to talk about in the wine industry. I'm sure we could do this 2 or 3 more times, and not cover it all.
There's been many people I've gone out there and I've talked to. In fact, actually, I'll name one guy, John Rivenberg. You've probably heard that name. Every time I sit down with him, "Hey, John, can you talk to me for about 15, 20 minutes? Yes. And next thing you know, it's been 2 hours.
Oh, man.
And we still on the same topic. So
he's in North Texas?
No, he's actually here in the Hill Country.
In the Hill Country?
Kerrville Hills.
Okay.
Was it Kerrville? His winery's in Kerrville. I'm drawing a
That's
blank.
fine.
Kerrville Hills is what it is.
Kerrville Hills.
It is, yeah. So, but again, thank you for allowing me to come on here. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule, allowing me to come on here and sit down and talk with you about this.
Perfect. I enjoyed it. So it was great.
Real quick, I do have some wine quotes. I just want to hit our sponsors right quick. So one of our sponsors is Texas Wine Lover app, as we talked about a while ago. Go out there and use that to find all your Texas wineries out there. Great search engine to find everything that you
Texas Wine Lover
Texas Wine Lover
App. It's an app.
It's an app. Yeah, you can get it on your phone. It's a great little app. You go in here and literally list every winery in Texas. So it's a great little tool to find, and then on top of all that, my other sponsor is Old Vine Texas. They're based there in Mansfield, Texas.
Okay.
And they bring a lot of the hill country wines up to the North Texas area because a lot of people don't want to drive 4 hours to the hill country.
Sure.
Because we all know this state is huge. I mean, what is it, 18 hours from one end to the other? So people don't want to spend 4 hours in a car. So he brings up the best of the hill country wines to Mansfield, and people can come and drink it there.
Well, great. That's wonderful.
It's amazing.
Great sponsors.
Yes, sir, they are. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to the wine quotes. And this is why I pride the show on, because I try to find the best wine quotes possible. And since this was a Texas commissioner conversation here, I wanted to find great Texas wine quotes.
Okay.
So here's what I come up with. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready.
You'll taste that Texas pride and stubbornness along with apples and butterscotch.
There you go.
And then this is my favorite one. This made me laugh. Texas wines are now so good, we don't have to import from foreign countries like California.
Perfect. Love that one.
I may put that on a wine glass now myself. So,
perfect.
Well, Commissioner, again, I appreciate your time here. Again, if there's anything I can do to help push and promote, please let me know. I will be willing to help out as much as possible. And this has just been a great opportunity with you. And I really hope what we got planned for the future is going to be amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you, sir. So this is Will and
Sid.
This is We Know Texas Vino. Cheers.